Joining us for a little bit is a gentleman who is the Attorney General for the state of Louisiana. Mr. Jeff Landry is here. Hey, Mr. Jeff, Happy New Year. Welcome back to KEEL. Great to have you as always.
Good morning, y'all, too. How are you doing this morning?
This is, I mean, usually you're an upbeat, cheerful fellow, but you seem a little extra upbeat and cheerful this morning. May I inquire as to why?
Well, yeah, I'm on the radio with y'all, too.
Oh, that's sweet.
Handled that well.
You had a big meeting with President Trump to talk about the border security and the wall. Who's all in the room? How much did they listen to you?
Oh, it was a great meeting. We had, of course, the president, the vice president, Kirsten Nielsen, the Homeland Security Director, Secretary, the acting U.S. Attorney General, Matt Whitaker, and a number of, and also Attorney General Leslie Rutledge from Arkansas, about 4 or 5 sheriffs, mostly from Texas and border counties. We had a supervisor from San Diego and a number of pastors in the meeting. And it was a pretty extensive meeting. We were in there for about an hour and a half. The president spoke for about 45 minutes in front of the press. He brought the press corps in for about 45 minutes, and then he dismissed them. And then we had a meeting for about another hour, and it was pretty productive. And some of the statistics that were rolled out were really unbelievable. You know, it really is a shame. Even our local print media here in in Louisiana has really downplayed the meeting. You know, I'll give a shout out. Greg Hilburn was probably the only one that accurately reported some of the statistics that were out there in the meeting. I mean, poisonous things are coming across our border, and it is a crisis, and we need a wall.
You said something about a border without a wall is like a house with no front door. Explain that.
Let me put this in perspective. If tonight, or actually, why don't you pick one of the days coming up when it's going to be below freezing, and you walk and you got to your house and you didn't have a front door, what would your first reaction be? You need to put the door up, right? Or you need to get a door.
Sure.
And what if you found out you just couldn't get a door there? You would say that your house is in a crisis. And that's exactly where we are. I mean, everyone in America has a front door. I mean, even if you live in a good neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. Even if you like all of your neighbors, you still don't remove your door, right? You have a door, and that door is there in order to create a barrier between the outside and the inside, and for you to be able to let who you want in and out of your home. And then it's also there for security reasons, right? So when you leave your home, you want your front door, and then you lock it, and you lock it so that people don't come into your home when you're not looking or when you're not there. I mean, this is exactly where we are. This is how ridiculous this Schumer shutdown that we have going on is.
Well, you know, Mr. Jeff, the analogy I've used on the radio is for people who literally don't believe in borders. They've used the phrase imaginary lines. Wander into Nancy, if you can get that far, wander onto Nancy Pelosi's property and see how long it is before you're face down on the lawn.
Oh, well look, I saw a video last night that was posted, wouldn't see it in the mainstream media, of a reporter who went to Nancy Pelosi's home with some illegal immigrants, and they were all arrested.
Jeff, you gotta believe this though, and I'm preaching from the other side. You know, a wall's not going to stop everything. They're going to dig under it. They're going to fly over. They're going to find ways to still come in. Does that concern you at all?
Absolutely not, because listen, border security starts with a wall. One of the things that we learned in a meeting at the White House on Friday was the engineering and construction and type of wall that they're building. They're building a very solid steel wall that goes down very deep. It's encased with concrete, so it's concrete filled. Certainly, it's not going to do everything, but it starts with that. Again, let's take your home, for example, Erin. You have a front door. That's a basic part of securing your home, right? You have doors, you have walls, you have windows. Now, if all of a sudden you start feeling unsafe or you're getting break-ins around your neighborhood, you may then add a fence, right? You may then add some cameras. But again, basic things are a door and a lock. And sadly, our border is a border in name only right now. One of the things that's interesting that came out of the meeting, in El Paso, the crime rate drastically fell when they built the wall there. In San Diego, there was something, I think the U.S. Attorney General, acting U.S. Attorney General, gave us a statistic that said that there were like 600,000 illegal crossings per year. And once the wall in San Diego was completed, it dropped to like 30,000. But again, you got to remember, it might have been, we might could drop that number even further because you build a portion of a wall, and what do? They just walk around the other side of it.
Mr. Jeff, what's the current state of sanctuary cities here in Louisiana? I know there was, let me see, it was New Orleans, and I know Lafayette was sort of lumped in there for a while. I know there were legislators a couple of years ago who voted to protect those sanctuary cities. What is the status right now?
Well, we have worked real hard with our local officials. Lafayette is not currently, they changed the policy. The sheriff there in Lafayette changed his policy so that they cooperate with ICE. The mayor, then Mayor Landry, before he was called before a House committee a couple of years ago, changed his policy with the New Orleans Police Department as well. We are currently working and putting pressure on the Orleans Parish Sheriff to change his policy. And so we're getting close. You know, what would make it real easy is if those in the Louisiana Senate would agree with their House members, who I would remind you, Robert, voted in a bipartisan manner, not only once, but 2 years in a row to put in place a law that guaranteed penalties for municipalities or parishes that engage in sanctuary city policies. That would be a final fix. But again, you know, the governor controls the Senate. John Alario won't let the bill be heard. And so here we stand.
Mr. Landry, you're talking to Jeff Landry, the Attorney General. The President apparently told the group that he would support comprehensive immigration reform if Congress agrees to fund the border wall. Can you give us any specifics about what he would do? We have a lot of people here illegally that we haven't come up with a fix for that either.
Yes. Well, look, I'm going to tell you, he mentioned that in the meeting. That was another thing that we discussed. And look, I'm going to tell you, I applaud him for being willing to tackle that. I think that is absolutely necessary. We've always recognized, when I was in Congress, I said, our immigration system is completely broken. It is. It's broken. And we need to fix it. And we need to deal with those people who, since the last time amnesty was granted in the 80s, and we didn't secure our border, you know, millions of more people have come across, right? Why? Because we've got a broken immigration system. So I think the president's right. He didn't dive into particular details, but I can tell you, I've got no problem that if we build a wall, right, if we have a physical barrier under which, and then strengthen our ports of entry, I have no problem and believe we should deal with comprehensive immigration reform and those people that are in the country who want to become Americans, who want to be productive. But if you're here only to spread poison and commit crime, you got to go.